also, we're going to, there we go, guys. Hit on there. We're all getting ready to go. Let me see here.
What up, Coach?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Great.
Good. Congratulations to Taurus. He's come in and done a great job. He's going full speed, turned in his first business this past week, and got more production going, and just awesome job, buddy.
Congrats.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good.
Just want to get after it.
I know it. We're just starting. I love it. Well, guys, listen, let's go and get started. Obviously, this is Jody Humphrey coming to you from headquarters here in Atlanta, Georgia. I got my partner, Kimberly Odie, right here with me, and we got a great program lined up today. I'm sure Zach's floating around somewhere. He's usually within earshot. That's okay. I know he's there, and we appreciate everybody supporting us. Greg Smith is excused today because he has a situation where they had to have Al Zuckerman and a Nexus doing something at the same time for a specific case. And so I know where he's at and where his guys are. So I support them, and they're doing fantastic. Guys, we got some incredible new people on that I can't wait for you guys to learn from as we go forward. Welcome to all of you, every one of you, and you're the future of our company. If you knew what I knew, you would just be out of control. Make sure to mute yourself if you don't mind. Thank you. If you knew what I knew, if you had just seen what I've seen in the last 24 hours, you'd be out calling on everybody, recruiting everyone, producing, moving product to everyone. We've got an incredible system that's put in place as people join to take them systematically through and to success that you're going to see over the next couple of weeks. This is going to blow your mind. Also, you're going to hear some concepts today from both Mauricio, but also from a special guest that we're going to have. It's going to give you a case study that you're going to go want to write down and go tell this story over and over and over and over and over and over again. So I'm so excited for that. So let's get going. As we start on these calls, we have Tim O'Rourke with us. And for those of you that are new, Tim is going to come in and give you some great information. He's our team friend. He's actually on our team. Technically, he's got a code number, and he's in part of our organization. And so he's kind of here as that today, but he's also our great company executive, and he is our chief compliance officer also. So he keeps us, between the ditches, which is important. And I was always thinking last night, and I do want to at least say this because we never give a shout out to rules or compliance, but we take for granted that people always are going to do things right. And then last night I was thinking, if you followed what happened in that ship hit the bridge, that situation, just little things like that, how they don't happen more, I'm always blown away. But the little things where people don't follow rules or don't follow procedures, massive things can happen. And so I use that little example of just doing it right. I always say things that are true, do what's right, take care of the clients the way we should, and good things will happen. But Tim is, for those of you who haven't been on, when he comes on, he's going to give, is kind of Tim's tips, if you will, about money. And sometimes you may say, man, this sounds like a little bit heavy. It's not. You've got to get better. You've got to get better every day. You've got to get better every week. And what happens is you hear things over and over and over and over. And by hearing them, you become better. And we got a great advantage. This is a huge thing. I think it's a recruiting magnet that people can get on this call and hear very concise information from someone who I think is one of the better, even though he's not literally an economist, but I think he thinks like an economist and is cloning and following the best of the economists. So Tim, thank you, buddy, for being on.
Hey, Jody. Good morning, everybody. Appreciate that intro. And I've said this before, and Jody just kind of mentioned it, there is this kind of information just gives you more data and background about what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the markets. It's just helpful stuff. You probably don't want to use it materially. It's like talking to you, Stephanie, at some of the meetings. We might talk about some stuff and what's going on. You might ask me a couple questions, or I might run into, Zach and Kimberly. We talk a lot, and I see Krina in the office here sometimes, and she'll say hi and hey, what's going on? And we kind of get into these kind of discussions sometimes. So what I'm going to do today is just give you a really brief overview of what's going on in the investment markets. We're kind of going sideways right now. The majority of economists out there really think that we're about to see a correction. If you read Paul Dietrich's stuff, he thinks we're going to have a recession sometime this year or early part next year. He's been saying that now for some time, but there's been so much capital put into the market that it's really difficult to judge how valuations in the stock market are being judged. And so there's some big things going on right now that, just keep piling on to the pile, right? I mean, when you look at what's going on geopolitically throughout the world, you've got this huge disruption, as everybody knows. How long is it? Do you realize how long it's been since this Ukraine kind of thing, this conflict with Russia happened? This has been over a couple of years now. And then you've got the Israeli conflict with Hamas, and then you've got kind of, the separation of powers going on in the world. You've got China, you've got Russia, you've got now the Middle Eastern countries kind of coming together. Then you've got the Western countries, which is the US, the EU, various second world, third world countries that are kind of getting on that side. So you see these two powering groups formulating, their kind of strategy, China being huge, and India's coming into the sky, into the light right now too. When you think about everything that's going on in India is incredible. They're now getting into the bond market. They're getting into investments. They're growing. It's they're the third largest economy in the world now, behind the U.S. and China. So there's a lot of dynamics happening on the world. And when you put all these kind of geopolitical things together and you watch the investment markets and what's happening there, luckily the employment markets are still very strong. Their employment is good. People have jobs. The tech sector is one that is cutting back a lot. So that's why I always talk about there's an opportunity for us to recruit to that area. If you saw that bridge collapse yesterday in Baltimore, that's a huge impact on global car manufacturers, because that port is one of the biggest ports in the world to bring in cars. And the other thing I want to talk about real quickly, and Jody, I'll do this at a later date. I want to do a deep dive into the whole borrowing thing and finance, basically what's going on with money lending and also the Federal Reserve and the auctions. Right now, they're doing about $87 billion a day in Treasury auctions. I mean, I have a hard time getting my mind wrapped around that on a daily basis. And then has a global impact too. But so back to kind of what's going on here is, when you see all these kind of powers come together like this, and you see the markets at really high valuations right now, the majority of investors and institutional investors, as well as people like Paul Dietrich, who are economists, really, they're calling for a recession, a cutback, where the PE ratios are out of whack, the markets are overvalued. So as this all kind of comes to a head, we're going to see a correction. There's going to be this downturn, and you never know how far it's going to go or what the impact is. But with the national debt the way it is, we're borderline $37 trillion in debt, and increasing about 1.6 trillion a year right now, run rate. And I don't see anybody in Congress trying to correct that or make a stand this year, and especially in an election year. You're not going to see a lot of people in Congress try to come up with laws to cut back on the amount of spending. So as that continues, there's going to be a bubble at some point. We saw the bubble back in 2001, 2002 with the internet. We saw the bubble in the real estate REITs and investments back in 08, 09. We're due, and something's going to hit here. And I just want you all to be aware of that. So when you're out there meeting people, talking to people, it's really our responsibility to tell people what we're doing, and that internal consumption kind of opportunity for you is huge because people are looking for secondary incomes. They're looking for other ways to supplement inflation and things going on in their lives. Their car insurance has gone up. Their food bill has gone up. You know, Maslow's laws of hierarchy are of needs is that you got to take a housing, you got to take care of food, you got to take care of clothing. These are all the basics that people fall back on. And when they get pressed and challenged, they're going to start looking, and their ears are open for you to have that conversation. So a lot of this is going on behind the scenes. The markets, a lot of change going on in the investment markets. Larry Fink, who's the CEO of BlackRock. BlackRock is worth about $10 trillion, is in T, and they deal with 35 million Americans around the country. Larry Fink, the CEO, said recently that the 20 to 40-year-old age group right there, and some, you know, maybe a little higher, 20 to 45, they're struggling right now to plan for retirement. They don't even have a clue how to do it. They haven't started. That's our market. Those are the people we need to educate. We need to bring them into the fold. You have the tools, they have the resources. I mean, what Jody just said is so powerful. We are sitting at the brink of one of the most amazing opportunities that you'll ever have in your life and to share with other people. And just to know that fact is incredibly powerful. So, Jody, back to you. That's my speak for the day. I hope it helps, and I hope that everybody takes this kind of information and uses it to each of you go out and help other people and service other people.
Absolutely, Chip. Fantastic stuff. And it's just, I hadn't even thought about that part. I forgot, that you're right. You're right up there in the car capital of the world. And that bridge, what happens, you get all these unintended consequences. And there's so many parallels that go into our business. It's absolutely amazing. But things are crazy in the world. But thank you so much. And I always feel a little smarter and more confident as I go forward, having you right here in our corner. So thank you.
Yeah.
A few things, guys, and I hope you're in a note-taking mode, because you should be writing 100 miles an hour. Literally on Wednesday, the whole time your hands should be moving. You can be writing the whole time that you're on here every single Wednesday. A few things is that, remember this, that the only economy that really matters to you is your own personal economy. And every one of you, you got to be 100% committed. To me, I've always had this mantra that you need to be 100% committed to growth, 100% committed to quality, but also 100% committed to becoming a student of our business. Then what business are we in? Yes, we're in the leadership format system business, and we're all about people, but we're also in the money business. So every week we get better. For 1 hour, I know we're going to get better from 12 to 1 on these Wednesdays. And so that's what I want you to feel today, because it's about your personal savings. It's about, do you have a plan? Because it gives you a little extra power. You may think, well, I'm going to wait till later to start an IUR. I'm going to wait till later to start saving some money when this business gets going. I promise you, 10 promises you that if you start saving money, you have a power that comes about you, a calmness, a sureness that comes about you that is contagious to other people, okay? And as we lead into our next part, which is going to be here from Mauricio for a few minutes, one of the things he always teaches us, one is massive imperfect action, which he talks about all the time, but he also talks about that the first bill every month ought to be you. You got to pay yourself first. He was one of the first people I always heard talk about pay yourself first. It's what happens. Most people go through in their perspective. See, listen, we can't accept the status quo. We've got to create the status quo. When you're talking to somebody, you can't just let them think the way it is the way it is. You got to come in and just shake them up and say, look, right now, you're starting off the month. You pay every bill. If there's anything left over, you might save some money. You're never going to succeed. You need to come in. You need to pay yourself first, get your savings done first. And if you tithe or you believe in whatever you believe in, get that out the way too, right there. And then you go and you do the rest. You'll always have enough money. So with that set up, Mauricio, take just a few minutes with us. And man, we're honored. And guys, when we do unveil in a few weeks, the system I was telling you about later, you're going to realize what an asset Mauricio really is to all of you. So Mauricio, thanks for being on for a few minutes. Can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Now you can hear me?
Yes, there you go.
I unplugged the whole thing and all this. You can hear me well. Very good. Maybe with a little bit of echo, but as long as you can hear me, it's fine. I was just saying
Sound
it is
great.
an honor and privilege to be here and come in and share a few things. So what I want to talk about today is many of you probably already heard this before, but I cannot emphasize enough just how powerful it is when you're having to meet with a client, and after you sort of broke the ice and maybe gathered a little bit of information. I call this 15 minutes of magic, and we literally have to keep it 15 minutes today. And I always tell the clients, no matter what they tell me in terms of what their goals are or what we sort of discovered of what the challenges are based on the data that we gather, is that I know in most of the cases, the first meeting is not the decision-making meeting, because you're gathering the data and you still want to be able to go back, maybe run a few illustrations, do a few comparisons before you actually present the plan. So what I said is, okay, I think we can help you with that. Typically, whatever the challenge is, because I know that even if I can't do that, we have the Paul Dietrichs there. We have the people that can help us help those clients overcome whatever challenges they may be facing. So, but I do say this all the time. Nowadays, I do it more on Zoom with my pencil, and I say, listen, every plan, no matter what we actually come back with, I try to make you. I want you to know that there are a certain risks that we need to always mitigate against. And one of them is market risk, but we also have inflation risk, task risk, and longevity risk. That's really 4 right there. And this is what I draw for them on the board. Jody, allow me to share the screen so that I can show the visuals.
You're good.
Thank you so much. So basically, and this was just a faster way for me to explain it for you today. So what it is this. I talk about the world of investments. I would just say the world of money. You want to get away from the world of investments at all costs, but it's the world of money. And I said, in one side, you have the world of protection. And I draw this on the board and say, when you have money and you want to take it to a place where you're not going to lose it, that is pretty safe, to say, you typically go where? And I let them kind of say that. They say, well, I go to the bank. And you're like, okay, that's about right. We know that the banks offer a certain safeties, right? They have the FDIC insurance, all that. And then I ask them, where else do we, if we wanted that money to be relatively safe, where else would we take it? And then they wander around, they look, and they think, and they think, and they think, and most of the time they can't come with anything more than the banks. I say, well, how about U.S. Treasuries? The government's been pretty good about paying on those bonds, so the government would be one place we could go. And can you think about another place, another financial type of institution that it's been 100 years, it's 100 years old, it's a pretty safe place to also have the money? Some people would say maybe insurance companies. Most people can't come up with it, but I wrote it down and say, yeah, that's right. Let me get the laser point. I think, yeah, you got it right. That would be the insurance company. And we know that in this world, where everything we know going in, everything going in, we know, like we know the guarantees, we know the amount of time we have to wait for that bond to mature. We have to wait for that CD to pay the interest. We wait for that annuity. Like, we know everything. And in this world of protection, money can only go up. The problem is we have the risk of inflation, because typically most of these guaranteed products hardly keep up with inflation, but it's still, there's a room for it. Now, on the other side, in the other stream, we have the world of potential. And what's in the world of potential is these things you've heard about: the stock market, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, options, futures, REITs, all kinds of different things that are in that world. And we know that in this world, you can make 30%, but also lose 30%. It's just volatility. And like Warren Buffett said, you're not going to be in this world at least a decade. You shouldn't even be there 10 minutes, because you have to let the ups and downs to kind of give you an average, right? So a lot of people, when it comes to retirement, things like that, you will find that they're operating in this world. The challenge is the volatility, right? And so many people, as they try to mitigate that market risk, they have to look in true diversification. And what's true diversification? Maybe it's not necessarily more stocks, more bonds, more mutual funds, more ETFs, because true diversification would be a different asset class, right? So some people find that by utilizing this third world, which is the hybrid products, which is also known as principal protection programs. According to Investopedia, these are the type of products where you can transfer the risk of having any, like, down markets or corrections or losses to your money. And they're managed by reputable legal reserve insurance companies, where you can take a portion of your money, whether that's from the world of protection that is not earning enough, or maybe some of the money that would be over in the world of potential that you want not to lose, right? We could identify what that number can look like, and this can give you a more robust strategy in terms of mitigating that volatility. But what it is this is a world where you have a floor, meaning that the money is not going to lose. You're not going to have any downside to it, according to or based on prices or market corrections. And you also have a cap. And what the cap means is that, if the market goes up, let's say 20%, and you have a cap of 12, you're going to earn 12, right? There's also other things in here that's called like a margin or participation rate, or where, maybe if the market goes up 10%, but you had a margin of 2, or a margin of 2, you get 8. And participation would be like a percentage of the upside that you'll get. Some companies would even give you higher than 100% participation rate. So there's a lot of flavors that we can look into to see which one fits you the best. And we'll get into that if it's a part of what we need to include or incorporate, all with the objective of helping you mitigate market risk. And if you look at the charts, this is typically how each one of these worlds look like. You have the world of protection, which is pretty, you kind of know everything from the beginning. The volatility goes up and down. You don't know really what you're going to get, but hoping you stay there for a few decades, you'll still grow. And the hybrid is up and never goes down. Sometimes you don't get all the ups, but you never get the down. Sometimes you get all the ups. It depends on where the caps are. So that's just kind of for you to know the world of protection. And this is sort of what we need to work with to mitigate inflation in one end, but also market risk. Now, when it comes to mitigating the tax risk, it's understanding where you're at. Most Americans today have most of their money in these things called IRAs, 401ks. If the stock market in the U.S. is valued at about $50 trillion, about 37 to close to 40 trillion are actually in these things called qualified retirement account. That's the lion's share of most retirement, of most dollars that are earmarked for retirement. And so it's important to obviously understand how allocating the right amount of money into each one of these buckets can actually help you have your money last longer. And so obviously we know that in this country, if you make an investment, you have a gain, you're most likely going to pay these things called capital gain tax, right? Whether it's 15, 20%, you put money into any sort of an investment, you have a gain, you sell, you're going to pay that capital gain tax. So there is a lot of money out there today that is in that bucket, but it's money that is earmarked for retirement. So what we say is that it makes no sense paying all these taxes on an annual basis, realizing these gains, paying taxes, when it's money you need for retirement. Why not just put it in the right place for the right purpose and be able to maybe have tax deferral and be able to get a triple compounding where those taxes you're paying today can actually stay working for you, earning that compound interest. So we'll see if that's something to look into if you have that situation here. But definitely there's a lot of people having a lot of money in this bucket, not realizing how much they're actually missing out on by not leveraging some of the other buckets that we can talk about, that you can see here in front of you. Obviously, like I said, the lion's share of the money of the American people is in these things called IRAs, 401ks, ESOP 403bs, and the likes, including pensions. And obviously, nobody wants to give up the opportunity, as an example, to get free money from the 401k. You got to take that. I mean, it's great to have tax-free money, right? But it's better. It's not better than the free money. So you get the free money, and you grow that 401k, that IRA. In our experience is that you should only grow it up to a point where when it's time to withdraw, whatever amount you take out is wiped out by your standard deductions. I think today in 2024, standard deduction for a married couple is $29,000. So let's say you had $100,000 in your 401k and you took out $20,000. Well, it is a taxable event. It adds to your income, but you also have a standard deduction, even if you don't have children. If you don't have those exemptions or credits, that mortgage interest deduction, those contributions to a qualified account, which are the biggest deductions while you're working and working towards retirement, those are gone, but you still have your standard deduction. So if you can keep those withdrawals from those qualified accounts, it might just become the best vehicle you've ever had, because you got free money, you got tax deferred growth, and you will have a way to overcome the tax distribution by utilizing your standard deduction, right? So we'll take a look at that and what should be the amount that you should probably keep in that bucket, and everything else goes towards the third bucket, which is your tax advantage bucket, which is your tax-free alternative, which is the Roth IRA. Love the Roth IRA, love the Roth 401k. Love, see if maybe we can do some Roth conversion. Let's see if it makes sense, and even life insurance, because the more money you have, the more you want to move to the right, for sure. And the reason you want to do that is when we talk about mitigating the tax risk, is that all the money that comes out of this tax advantage bucket is tax-free, and it doesn't even count towards the thresholds that cause your Social Security to be taxed. So not only would it be tax-free, but it also can help you protect that income that you get from the Social Security, which, if you didn't know, during the Ronald Reagan administration, and they what Frank D. Roosevelt said would never be taxed. This is your Social Security. Actually, they imposed this new tax on your Social Security that if you're single and you made over $25,000 and up to $34,000, that up to 50% of your Social Security could be subject to taxation. And if you were married and you made over $34,000, all the way up to, I think, $44,000, up to 85% of your Social Security could be subject to tax. So you can actually prevent this from happening if we manage the right amount to keep on the tax deferred bucket and really weigh in heavily on the tax advantage side for that purpose. Whether you believe taxes will be higher in the future or not, one of the reasons would be to maybe not fork out $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $9,000 in taxes from your Social Security benefits. So we'll dive deeper into that in our next meeting, if we actually have a problem with that, because we're talking about mitigating the tax risk, and really to do that is having the right amount of money in each one of these taxable buckets. And the other one that I want to close with is longevity risk. Most people would work really hard to accumulate $1 million, right? That's the coveted $1 million, maybe thinking that that would be the amount that they need to retire comfortably. The reality is that, there was an MIT professor here, William Benjamin, because prior to 1994, nobody truly knew what would be the proper amount of money you could actually withdraw from a portfolio without running out in 30 years. Especially a lot of people today having this idea that they can retire at age 50. Well, that means 40 years of income you're going to need, right? Retiring at 45. Well, that just means 45 years of income you're going to need. But if you retire, let's say at 60, right, or at 70, you're looking 20, 30 years of income you're going to need. So what is the percentage that you can actually withdraw from a portfolio and have a high chance of success, meaning 100% chance that is going to last you 30 years? Well, according to MIT genius, William Benjamin, 1994, took a lot of data, used Monte Carlo simulation, which is one of the most advanced software there is out there, and he tested against every portfolio model, all the way from 100% bonds to 100% stocks and anything in between. And if you look at anything above 4%, it really puts that portfolio at risk in terms of lasting over 30 years, which means that if you have $1 million, you're only looking at a $40,000 income. And that's not even including the taxes. So what we need to look at is some of the solutions that can actually help you get more certainty and give you a higher than 4% that you can rely on so that, once you address market risk, inflation risk, tax risk, and longevity risk, you have a chance of your money lasting a lot longer than not having a strategy overall. So, let's set up a time for our next meeting when we'll dive into that. That's sort of
Awesome. Hey, that's fantastic, man. Thank you for giving us that time. And I don't even know what to say. I mean, that's as good as it's going to get. I've been here a long time. That's probably the most concise, straightforward explanation of that concept I've seen. And I know everyone's going to be asking for those slides, and we'll make sure we'll get you a copy of them along the way. But thank you, Mauricio. I know you've
Thank
got
you,
some other
guys.
things you got to take care of, but I
and
appreciate
that was
you.
literally 15 minutes of magic.
That was 15 minutes of magic. That's what we call that. He provided it. Thank you so much. And then also, by the way, if you're in Atlanta, we have hand invited a group of people Thursday night. We're even fly. Armando's driving from Nashville right now. James is getting on a plane right now from California. We got a handful of people. Then Mauricio's going to lock the doors downstairs at 5 o'clock. We're not leaving this building till all of our Zyber Zeus's are up and running. So if you're here and you want to be part of that, call me and I'll consider you to be the candidate and see where you're at and try to get you in that. But we got it rocking, guys. And Kimberly can't tell you what she just saw, but she can tell you it was pretty awesome. Of some things we worked for that I just shared with her a little bit. So we got a lot of great things. I mean, a lot of great things going. So Kimberly, you want to share some thoughts?
Yeah, I was gonna say I like the behind the scenes secrets. Zach's right here too. But yeah, I sent him this like mind blown emoji. And same thing over here. Like so much is happening. It's a little crazy. Just trying to keep up with everything. But I love that presentation. I think it's funny, and we've said this before, but we've always used that presentation our entire career. Might say a little different words, but it's still the same concepts with the circles and the buckets, and that's what we called it, right? The circles and the buckets. And that was one of the very first training lessons that we ever learned. So I think being able to give your clients just some simple, basic financial concepts education as a value add to that appointment, and quick, clear, conceptual, third grade level ideas gets them thinking, right? When you talk about taxable money, tax-free money, what's the other one? Oh, tax deferred money. And giving them those ideas, I think it keeps their mind churning, and it lets them know you know what you're talking about. Not that they would ever question that anyway, especially as long as you do a really good job, but it allows them to have something to think about as they go along. So I love that presentation. I think Mauricio does a great job, and seeing it that clearly defined would be awesome. Just to
It is. And Kimberly, one thing on that, guys, listen, and I know when it comes to recruiting and sales, human nature is that you want to know what to say. That's a natural thing. And I'm not going to be foolish enough to tell you that it doesn't matter what you say. Of course it matters what you say, okay? Well, then we are so blessed that between Zach and Mauricio, you have as good as anybody I've ever seen at explaining these things. Okay, so when we post this, go back and re-listen to what Mauricio said and listen to what his words were. He's very measured. Every word is clear, precise. He uses very powerful words. Go back and get those words, because those words give you confidence. And so you will then go open your mouth. If you just go say what he said, you can't screw it up. The same thing with on Zach's presentations on Brother A and Brother B and Unqualified Me and most other things that when they go over these things, leverage that. They want you to leverage that. We're all helping each other. There are others on here that are great. I mean, Sergio's got a great way of explaining the same thing. So we have a lot of wonderful people that can go over these things. Go learn it. Go back and rewatch this. I mean, I was writing on the back of an envelope all these things. Triple P. I've never heard it. Principal production products. Principal protection products. Great way to explain just little things along the way that were fantastic. So Kimberly, keep going.
I just want to say that when you listen to this back, and anytime you're talking to somebody, one of your default mechanisms is to want them to think you're smart. And the idea is not for them to think you're smart. The idea is for them to understand what you're talking about. Remember that. anytime you're teaching somebody something, which is what we do with clients all day, every day, it's not about them understanding how much we know. It's about how much they learn in the time we're talking to them. That's what's going to get the action. If they leave and they think, wow, they were really smart, but I have no idea what they talked about, you're not going to get a sale. You're not going to get a recruit. You're not going to get anybody to move forward. So remember that. Keep it simple. Educate. Use these words. Like Jody said, these are on YouTube now. You can go back and look at them. It's there forever. So, we've got access
Until
to
we
it.
delete it.
So, don't try to be smart. Try to be educational, and you will come out a whole lot better.
And you're like, hey, listen, I echo what Zach just said, because you don't want to dazzle them or baffle them. You get paid no monies by impressing anybody. It took me a long time to learn that from recruiting. I would try to give a presentation at the end. I'd be like, how good was that? How good was that? How good was that, Bob? And I'd be like, and it's irrelevant. You don't want to overwhelm them, because you want them to feel like, hey, that made sense. I can do that. That makes sense. And Mauricio's got that in that way. Same as you hear from Zach and you hear from others. I mean, we got other, there's a lot of people on here. Carol's really good. LaShawn's very good at words. I mean, there's a lot of people who are very good at this. Stephanie and those guys have got it rocking. And so we're blessed to learn from this, but Mauricio has really, he got it down real nice and easy. And don't forget, when I had the pleasure of recruiting him, he was making over $500,000 a year just as a financial advisor at that point, way before technology came into his world. He was killing it, just selling to high-end net worth individuals. So, it isn't like he pulled this out of the air. I mean, he understands it, and it's second nature to him on that. Any questions about what we've gone over, what you've seen so far today, off of what Mauricio said? We're going to open this up for a couple of minutes, and then we'll go to our finishing part in a second. Any questions for today? I know there has to be some questions.
I have a question, Jody. This is in regards to what Mauricio was talking about. I love the PPP. That was my first time. That was awesome.
Mhm.
But with the 4 risks, I want to make sure, because I only had 3, but he added one, and I think that was longevity. So Mauricio, was it market, taxation, longevity, and inflation?
Mauricio's gone. He's doing, actually,
Okay.
I can hear him doing another meeting, but Zach, do you remember what it was?
That sounds correct. Yes.
Okay,
It was volatility,
Well, that's market risk and
Yeah.
volatility. So,
right,
yeah.
but the 4,
taxes, longevity, and then I think it was inflation was the last.
inflation. Okay,
Inflation, correct, yeah.
okay, thank you. Thank you.
Great question. Thanks, LaShawn. Any other questions on that? Give me a couple more questions, guys.
And I
Come on.
think while we're waiting on somebody to unmute and ask questions, just to kind of echo what you said and what Zach said, we say that we're leading the consumer empowerment revolution, right? That means that we are empowering other people, consumers, to understand their own financial house, to understand how money works. We're teaching them those financial concepts. So when we're talking to them, those charts look very simple, right? And as long as we keep our words, and I always say 3rd grade level or below, like it needs to be something simple that your kids or your grandkids or your neighbor's kids or whoever has kids can understand. Because if it's more than that, for most people, money isn't their second language, right? It's not their 3rd, 4th, or 5th language, and it's uncomfortable. So when we start talking in those higher level words, people, they don't understand it, and they become almost anxious about it. So just remember that when you're talking, is to keep it simple. But when I say simple, I mean like 3rd grade level or below. If your elementary student kid couldn't understand what you're saying, you need to make it more simple, for sure.
And I think it helps sometimes. I mean, I literally, I am very good at human nature, but I'm not someone that picks up math and those kinds of things second nature to me. I think it helps me because I desperately try to explain things so that I can understand it. And I think sometimes if it comes naturally to you, you got to be careful how you're talking, because most people, they don't get it. And so, that was a great presentation, but let me be as clear as I can be. What you just heard, it was a fundamental presentation that you have to know. You have to be able to explain that concept. You either have to explain it, and there's whether you're doing the 15 minutes of magic, which we call the buckets, whether you're doing Zach's brother A, brother B, unqualify me, or if you do what you know of Aki's team, which has been the X curve, they're the same presentation. They're you have got to have your way of saying that, or if you don't, you got to go partner with someone who does know how to do it and split those sales. Because if you do not learn what you just heard, you will not be competent to go market IULs. I cannot be any clearer. So if that's your goal, you need to go back and memorize what you just heard and literally be able to explain it. And it was laid out as clearly as it could be. Okay. All right, guys, you got a special treat right now. You have someone that's very important to me that's going to be on. I love, as you know, I love working in the field, and it's one of the great honors of my life. And being able to be part of building the team that Aki and those guys have built has been fantastic. And I have all kinds of people in there that I really enjoy. But I met this lady, I guess, about 4 or 5 years ago when she first came into business. And for whatever reason, we just really clicked off. And she's been kind of like my sister. And I've been to her home and helped build. And I've watched. I'm so proud of what she's doing. But she shared last night in their meeting an example that just took place that I think is very powerful. She was very excited, but very emotional about. And I want you to feel that enthusiasm. But I think what you're getting ready to hear, you want to write it down because you want to go tell people this story. And man, it ought to create tremendous urgency for you. So, Monica, thanks for being on.
Hey, Jody. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Monica Gehani. Like Jody said, I'm from Aki's hierarchy. Kiran is my direct upline, and Jody and I, we go long back. Like he said, it's more than just partners. We have a special bond. We've connected on so many things. He's helped me with so many, BOPs. Like when I was new in the industry, and that being said, I'm so proud to what we do. My background, simple. I've been a homemaker. I've raised 3 beautiful children, and my husband and I have had a retail business, of almost 30 plus years in everything you can think about, from clothing to perfumes and jewelry, everything. So when this opportunity came along, I pretty much got in to fix my own finances, get a little more financially savvy for myself and for my family. But it definitely took a different turn. I started sharing with friends and families with all the support of these amazing leaders here. And five years down the lane, now I am here helping families. And I came across a situation, really interesting experience I want to share with you guys. So this goes back almost 2 years back when I reached out to a extended family member. You want to definitely reach out to whoever you know. So this was, and it's, I think the toughest thing is to get to your family and friends. I'm sure you all agree, right? So the person who I'm talking about got on board to just do his simple 3-3-30. I sat with him. We did the FNA, we did the fast start, and his need of the hour was almost $5 million. So what everything that he owed and everything that his family needed if anything happens to him. Well, that being said, people don't want to, they don't agree to that. They're like, oh, he already had some coverage through his work. He was IT professional, 49-year-old, very healthy, had absolutely no health issues, got a preferred plus rating with AIG. And we went in and just applied for $1 million of a term for 30 years, right? So, hey, and I'm trying to talk to him, hey, we need to get some permanent coverage for you also, because life can happen anytime and people never think that it comes so close to you, right? And 10 months into the policy, he probably made 10 payments. Like I said, he was diagnosed with 2nd stage of colon cancer. It was shocking to the whole family. Very healthy guy. He doesn't even eat meat. He's a complete vegetarian, does not drink. So, no, they didn't know how to handle the situation. He reached out to me. His wife reached out to me. She said, I remember you selling something to my husband. Do you know what we have? And we went through all the options we had. Because it was not even 2 years into the policy. So most of the companies have a 2-year contestability period, right? So we went through all the pros and cons. I said, hey, this is what is going to happen. Are you sure you didn't, leave out any information while doing the application? Because can come against us and we might lose the entire coverage, right? That can happen. And he's like, no, I'm been perfectly healthy. And this is the doctor had just referred me for a colonoscopy and I just got it done. Said, okay. I reached out to AIG. This was my first experience. So it was a learning curve for me also. We did the claim, we got our options. What are we supposed to do? They gave me all, like we said, that it can go back and if he might also lose the coverage if anything comes back from his health records. Well, we applied right after we came back from the convention in Orlando. This was January. And here comes March. They offered, AIG came back with an offer saying that he had two options of accelerating his benefits. Either he could take the first 500,000, they were going to give him 220,000 out of that, and the rest he could yet continue his coverage. And the second option was he accelerates the entire million, and they came back for 440,000, like 439,000 something. And then we sat down. I said, "What do you want to do? Remember, after this you will be uninsurable. You're not going to have any coverage. And what about your work insurance that you already had with your company?" He said, "Well, that's only a death benefit. Only after I pass away will my family get it. There's no living benefits." And he yet could not believe that there are term policies, because term people just think it's a temporary policy, right? You can only the family can only get the death benefit, or the beneficiary gets it. But he was like, he's like, honestly, when you came to me earlier, I could not understand what it was. I didn't believe it. It's just the relation we had. I just signed up just like that, right? But now when he actually got the experience of it, he said, I'm going to take the entire check, because he had not been able to work for last few months. Also had a lot of debts with, when you say, oh, I have a lot of real estate that I get rental income from, but end of the year you still have to pay taxes. He's like, how he had no money to pay taxes on all those. So this check that he actually got for 440,000, he just received it 2 weeks back. He was super excited. He called me. He said, "Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. I have paid all my debts. Everything is paid off, and I am, I can't." He's like, "What do I do next?" So then I said, "You know what? Now, okay, hold on to the work insurance that you have. How about we get you something for you and your wife to cover her for the rest of her life, a lifetime income." So then I gave him the options of the annuities here we have. So I connected them. We got Nationwide and Nexus. So that being said, he opened up all his accounts. He said, "You tell me what do I need to do with this money?" So we helped him roll over 400K from all his previous 401Ks. He had some traditional IRAs. We took all of that. We rolled it over into a 400K for lifetime income that his and his wife are going to get. And this is spelled out in the contract that after the 10th year, his wife or, surviving spouse, or even if both are alive, they are going to get a $45,000 every year income for the rest of their lives. And he was like, how is this possible? And we have these products. So we are so proud that these companies are backing us up with these amazing products. And what Mr. Humphrey and Jody, you guys have done, this is just amazing. It's like I can't stop talking about it. I get emotional at the same time. But not only this experience has built my confidence to the next level, but also now I am not hesitant to reach out to anyone. And this client that I have has given me 5 other referrals as we speak. He's like, "Can you please help these guys?" Because everybody is in that situation where we feel, hey, I have enough coverage from my work, which is, when we looked at his coverage, it was only for 10 years. That's a 10-year term that comes out of his check. It's like 10 or 20 bucks. That's nothing. Doesn't give him anything. Well, now that he realizes that, and of course we're sitting with other clients and some of his friends, and the biggest regret that he has out of all this, that why did he not take the 5 million that I offered him? He was going to get a preferred plus rating, and it was he's like, he didn't know what to do. But at the same time I said, it's okay, your situation is something that is curable. You have you will still live a long life. You're yet in your working years, but it's just a learning for all of us that things can happen to anyone. We feel, hey, I'm healthy, I exercise, I do everything. How am I going to have all this? But yeah, this was something really hit my heart, very close to my heart. And mainly business is all about, especially our business is all about the stories that we share, right? The stories that we learn from people. And every client or even a prospect I talk, I definitely share some or the other story that they can connect with. So that's why I wanted to take this opportunity. Thank you, Jody, for letting me come on the call and share this experience. I hope all of us can learn from this and share wherever we can. So we can go out and help more families, right? Thank you so much, Jody.
Thank you so much. You know, Monica, thank you so much for being on, and you're honorary part of the whole team. You know that. So thank
Yes.
you so much. Appreciate you being on. And guys,
Thank you so
listen,
much.
as we finish up, I just want to make a couple of things. This is why you're on every call. You get on every call because you don't know what you're going to hear when you're going to hear it. That was powerful. There isn't anything else left to say. If you're not fired up, Carol, I see you smiling. I know you love that story, right? It's right. That's what it's all about. And all of a sudden, some of you are like, holy heck, this thing's for real. That's exactly what you're thinking about, right? And I think Debbie's crying, actually. I don't know. I can see you over there crying. But I love this because it's when all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh. Because literally the guy that was getting the money, he didn't believe it was real money. He didn't believe her. And so that's as powerful as it gets, very straightforward for you to understand. There was not a lot of complication to that. And now she's empowered. But I want to make a point on this is that every Tuesday night, I go over to the other office. I go to Duluth and I train these new people and I listen in at the beginning of their meeting every week. And I promise you on Tuesday nights, I don't want to drive from Alpharetta to Duluth. It's always an hour battling traffic. I'm tired. I'd rather be home. I know all this stuff, but I go do it. And I know why, because I hear something. Now, listen, I've heard everything, but I had not heard that. I had not heard a couple of things that Prashant went over last night that were jaw-dropping in the training. And then not only that, I believe in that so much that I took with me Dara, who's on here, and is part of Debbie's team, who's a great new lady, and she went. And so, but I was just so thankful that I was there to hear that, knowing when I heard that you guys needed to hear that. But what I want you to realize is that if you read the LFS manual, your responsibility is to be what's called a director of motivation. And what that means is that you need to get your people on these calls. And now, if some of you are sitting here going, oh, crap, I wish so-and-so would have heard this, send them to the YouTube channel and watch this. It's your job to get them to hear it. You don't have to tell everybody everything. Why in the world would you go try to tell your team what Mauricio just said and what you heard her say? You can't. So you have to go and have them see that. So that becomes your next move. So that's what the director of motivation is getting your people to go watch that. So, this is as good as it gets, guys. This is fantastic information today. A lot of power, a lot of information, but go act on it. Go open your mouth. Go tell this story. It's only as good. Because listen, if you don't act on this, it's just going to give you the warm fuzzies for about 30 more minutes. And then you're going to get out and somebody's going to text you something that's going to make you mad. You're going to forget how good you feel right now. You cannot that. So you write a note to yourself in big letters. I will not forget. Not this time. So go act on it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. And we'll see you Thursday night.
One thing
Absolutely.
before we head
Go ahead,
off.
Kimberly. Absolutely.
So talking about YouTube, we are live streaming on YouTube, which means this is there. Our Thursday nights are there every Wednesday and Thursday. It is HGI Team Legacy on YouTube. So I think it's just YouTube at HGI Team Legacy. We'll put it out in the WhatsApp groups, but if you click subscribe, then you're going to get notifications of any time we go live, right? And most of the time it's going to be Wednesdays and Thursdays, but it might be a different time. We might have just something fun to say to you at that moment. But right now I can see that this page, and we only have 12 subscribers on that page. So we all need to subscribe to it. So we have that. And we also need to channel our teams there. Because like Jody said, it's there. It's available. No more recording it. Have to upload it to Vimeo. Maybe it makes it, maybe it doesn't. Like it live stream every single time, always recorded. So make sure you subscribe to that as well. So you get notified.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow night, Thursday night at 8 p.m. For a little training. It's going to be brief, though, because we're going to be doing a lot of stuff here with Mauricio. Thank you. Take care. Hey, by the way, 1:30 today, I do a live Bob. Don't forget what it's all about. 9 o'clock